Picture this: a king so desperate for a male heir that he breaks with the most powerful institution in the world, marries 6 times, and executes 2 of his own queens. This isn't a fantasy novel. It's the real, jaw-dropping story of King Henry VIII of England. Welcome to our deep dive into the life of one of history's most notorious monarchs. Was he a romantic hero, a ruthless tyrant, or something much more complicated? Let's find out together. Our story begins not with a king, but with a second son. Henry wasn't born to rule. That destiny belonged to his older brother, Arthur. But when Arthur died suddenly, a young, handsome, and athletic Henry was thrust into the spotlight. He inherited not only the throne, but also his brother's widow, Catherine of Aragon. Their marriage was initially seen as a fairy tale, uniting the powerful houses of England and Spain. Catherine was a devout, intelligent, and loyal queen. For 20 years, they were a royal power couple. But one crucial thing was missing: a son. Catherine gave Henry a daughter, the future Queen Mary I. But after multiple stillbirths and infant deaths, Henry's obsession for a male heir grew into a national crisis. Enter Anne Boleyn. She wasn't just another court lady. She was charismatic, intelligent, and utterly captivating. She refused to be Henry's mistress, holding out for nothing less than the crown. Henry, completely infatuated, was determined to have her. He pleaded with the Pope to annul his marriage to Catherine, arguing it was invalid because she had been his brother's wife. He cited a biblical passage from Leviticus, claiming his lack of sons was a divine punishment. But the Pope, under pressure from Catherine's powerful nephew, the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, refused. For 7 long years, Henry fought for his great matter. Frustrated and desperate, Henry took a step that would change England and the world forever. He decided if the Pope wouldn't give him what he wanted, he would simply remove the Pope from the equation. In a revolutionary move, Henry broke away from the Roman Catholic Church and, through the act of supremacy, declared himself the supreme head of the Church of England. This wasn't just about love or lust, it was a massive power grab. He dissolved the monasteries, seizing their immense wealth and land, which funded his lavish court and endless wars. The English Reformation had begun, not out of deep theological conviction at first, but from a king's desire for a new wife and a male heir. With his new power, Henry quickly annulled his marriage to Catherine of Aragon. Catherine was cast aside, stripped of her title, and forbidden from seeing her daughter. She died a few years later, a lonely and tragic figure, still insisting she was England's true queen. Meanwhile, Henry finally married a pregnant Anne Boleyn. The entire kingdom held its breath, waiting for the promised son. But in September 1533, Anne gave birth to another girl, the future Queen Elizabeth I. Henry was disappointed, but still hopeful. However, after a series of miscarriages, his passion for Anne soured, turning into suspicion and rage. Anne's sharp tongue and political influence had made her many enemies at court. They whispered poison in the king's ear, and Henry, paranoid and desperate, was ready to listen. In a shocking turn of events, Anne Boleyn was arrested on trumped-up charges of adultery, incest, and treason. Just 3 years after becoming queen, she was taken to the Tower of London and executed. Her downfall was as swift as her rise was spectacular. Her story serves as a chilling reminder of the precarious position of women in a world dominated by powerful men. Did Henry truly believe she was guilty, or was she just a convenient obstacle to be removed? The truth is likely buried with them. Only days after Anne's execution, Henry married his third wife, Jane Seymour. Jane was the complete opposite of Anne Meek, gentle and obedient. And she finally gave Henry what he had craved for decades: a son, the future King Edward VI. The kingdom celebrated, but the joy was short-lived. Just 12 days after giving birth, Jane Seymour died from complications. Henry was said to be genuinely heartbroken. He considered her his only true wife and commanded that he be buried next to her, a wish that was eventually fulfilled. For a brief moment, we see a glimpse of a more human, vulnerable Henry. After a period of mourning, the search for wife number 4 began. This time, it was a political match. His chief minister, Thomas Cromwell, arranged a marriage with a German princess, Anne of Cleves, to form a Protestant alliance. Holbein, the court painter, was sent to paint her portrait, and Henry, liking what he saw, agreed to the match. But when Anne of Cleves arrived in England, the reality was a disaster. Henry was repulsed, famously calling her the Flanders mare. The marriage was a political and personal humiliation. It was annulled within 6 months, and the fallout was catastrophic for its architect. Thomas Cromwell, the man who had orchestrated the break with Rome and the dissolution of the monasteries, was executed for treason. Anne of Cleves, however, played her cards brilliantly. She agreed to the annulment, accepted the title of the king's beloved sister, and lived out her days in comfort and wealth in England, outliving Henry and all his other wives. Next came wife number 5, the young and vivacious Catherine Howard. She was a cousin of Anne Boleyn, and her arrival brought a spark of youth back to the aging, increasingly unhealthy king. Henry was besotted with his rose without a thorn, but Catherine had a past, and worse, she was careless in the present. Accusations soon surfaced that she was having an affair with a courtier, Thomas Culpeper. The evidence was undeniable. The betrayal enraged the king. A heartbroken and furious Henry had her executed for treason, along with the men involved. She was barely out of her teens. Her story is one of the most tragic, a young girl caught in the brutal machinations of the Tudor court. Finally, there was Catherine Parr, the 6th and final wife. A mature and twice-widowed woman, Catherine was more of a nurse and companion to the now obese, ill, and tyrannical king. His leg was plagued by a festering ulcer that left him in constant pain, fueling his paranoia and violent temper. Catherine was a kind stepmother to Henry's 3 children, Mary, Elizabeth, and Edward, and was instrumental in reconciling them with their father. She was also a devout Protestant with reformist views, which nearly cost her her life. Her enemies at court plotted against her, and an arrest warrant was even issued. But Catherine cleverly managed to talk her way back into the king's good graces, convincing him she only debated religion with him to distract him from his pain. She survived him. When Henry died in 1547, he left behind a legacy that is as complex as it is controversial. He had secured the Tudor dynasty with a male heir, but his son Edward was frail and died young. He had changed the religious landscape of England forever, paving the way for Protestantism, but his reasons were deeply personal. He had centralized power, strengthened the monarchy, and built up the Royal Navy, laying the foundations for England's future as a global power. Yet, he was also a man who ruled by fear. He executed tens of thousands of people during his reign, including friends, advisors, and two of his own wives. His court was a viper's nest of intrigue and betrayal, where one wrong word could lead to the executioner's block. So, who was the real Henry VIII? A magnificent Renaissance prince, a monster, or a tragic figure trapped by the expectations of his time? The truth is, he was all of these things. He was a man of immense contradictions, a talented musician and writer who could also be brutally cruel. A devout man who tore his country from its religious foundations for personal gain. A king who craved love but left a trail of broken hearts and headless queens. His reign is a gripping saga of love, power, and betrayal that continues to fascinate us centuries later. He was the king who changed England forever, and his dark, powerful, and utterly compelling story is a testament to the enduring drama of human history. What do you think? Was Henry a tyrant, a tragic hero, or something else entirely? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the Tudor court, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into history. See you next time.